all aboard!
Hello and welcome to this build of the Airfix F-80C Shooting Star, and it's the vintage class 6 boxing, and I'm building it as a memory lane build that I built when I was a child in the late 70s, and I did this original boxing with a proper Roy Cross box artwork, fully unadulterated with flak and bombs dropping. Proper artwork that was inspiring, and it fired you up. You thought, I really want to build that kit. And later versions will say they for a torn down sterile world, that these things don't exist and these things never happen. And in the 80s, around the mid 80s, this boxing was, they used the blueprints and they did a photograph of the actual kit in the studio, and it's a nice artistic way, but you look at that and the Roy Cross, and it's chalk and cheese. You don't want the real model's picture. You want your imagination firing up. And they've gone back to this with a modern boxing, but it's like a lot of the digital art. It's uninspiring and torn down. They've taken the dropping bombs off the painting. They've taken the flak out of it, and it just looks like it's took off and boring. And it defeats the actual thing the aircraft's doing, because it is pulling up after dropping the bombs. And here we have the original kit decals from the original 70s offering. Very simplified for a torn down muted colours, and these are the modern offerings. Of note, I wondered why he'd had it if he'd had the dragon on both sides, and if why was it pointing the wrong way. But that's giving you the options to actually mask off the blue area and spray it and then put the dragon on. This one, I've looked at real pictures of the aircraft, and I think this is a museum idea for the display idea, because the nose art was on the other side. It wasn't on that side. And here I'm just showing I've sanded off all the lines and I've scribed them in using a scribing tool. I made my own scribing tool. Yeah, it's got a lot to offer, the kit. It's very good quality kit for the time period it was made. It's a very nice kit. And my idea is to see if I can do a better job than I did in the mid 70s, and I can 100% with all certainty say yes. I'll have 101% compared to what I made it in the 70s. And I made a right town holes of it in the 70s. And there we have the Tamiya scriber, and it's bulky and awkward to use. Don't get me wrong, the cutting edge is good, but in use when you're trying to scribe a model with it, it's bulky and awkward, so I made my own out of a drawing pin and biro tube. and plastic cemented the drawing pin into the biro tube. And here I'm putting the cockpit bucket in, so you said tub, cockpit tub in, and we go in for spraying. I thought I'd done this quicker now, but I've done explaining it. Here we go. I'm actually spraying the interior of the cockpit green. There's not a lot of sidewall detail. I'm spraying the landing gear beige green. I've not done a lot of videoing of the work because I'm struggling with my health to do stuff like that, and it's hard enough building them now without videoing it as well. I'll video little bits and I'll explain stuff I've done, but you can see that all the scribing I've done, I've sanded off all the raised panel lines and scribed them in. They're not perfect with my hands as they are now, because I've got rheumatism, I've got carpal tunnel, I've got shakes in my hands. I'm going semi-sighted. So I don't know how I do it, especially when you see something in a minute. I amaze myself. And it'll show you exactly how much you can do. It's one of, I'm an artist and I do model kits, and it's one of my highest rated brushes. But the bog standard Airfix brush you get in the modern day starter sets is one of the best quality detail and basic painting brushes I've found in ages. You can use it for a bit of basic painting and detail painting, and there you can see I've done filling and sanding, and I'll have to clean the panel lines out after, give them another going over with a pin, and then wash them and put soap on and scrub all the muck out with a toothbrush. Once I've been working, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Like I say, with my eyesight and my hands now, disabilities, I'm not brilliant like I used to be, and here is the end of the tool I made. All it is a drawing pin inserted into a biro, and used liquid poly to set it in, and I used it for scribing the lines. And there you are. I've got a tub full of replacement scribers there. I don't know where you'd get them now. I've had them years. Might not even do them. And filler I used for it was Revel Plasto. Although Airfix do their own, and I used the spatula as well. I bought the spatulas separate. But a good thing you can do with that, if you want, you can use a toothbrush, a paintbrush to brush it on, and you can use liquid poly to be extra thin to thin it and make like a slushy filler, so it can fill finer things in. Anyway, here I am spraying silver. I had a couple of screw ups with that. I tried using Vallejo and it didn't work right good, and eventually I used Createx. I used Createx silver and diluted it with water and put some of the auto hardener in, make it a bit harder. Anyway, here we are now. We've got landing gear on, bombed up and ready to rock. Almost. I've done the decals, which What a blast, the beautiful decals. They're thin and you've to be careful, and here what I did, I painted with an olive green paint, and it was fairly thick consistency, enough to let me dab on so it gave texture to the bomb, and then I lightened the paint with some white and dry brushed it so it gave the texture, because they're a cast iron thing bombs, so I've made it so it has texture. Well, I painted it so it has texture, and I also used Vallejo chipping fluid, chipping medium, whatever it is. I mix my own colour. It's not brilliant there, I've made it a bit too dark in places, but it just adds to the appearance of it being warm, and looks good really. I quite like it. It's not that noticeable when you've not got light on it and you're not photographing it. And here we go, on the roundabout, the magic roundabout, so we can have a look. The biggest gutter is you learn all these techniques over the years, and just as you know all the techniques to do a good model, your body and eyes start failing you. Life's a bit of a cruel bitch sometimes, but there we go. I can manage and get an half decent aircraft out. I'm happy enough with that. It's a nice looking aircraft. It'll tuck in with the rest. Probably chuck some of them out, but I've also, what I did, I dry brushed over with, flipping it, let me think, Games Workshop lead belcher, and then some panels I picked out in another Games Workshop, a lighter silver colour, so it looked like there'd possibly been maintenance from flak damage or whatever. But yeah, it's an enjoyable old kit. It's an old one and there's plenty of work in it, but it's not just a throw together kit like today's modern ones. You have to work with, but in the main it's a nice fit, not that much filling. It's quite nice, easy build. I'd say the worst filling and the hardest job is doing the engine intakes, but apart from that, no major filling. Because what I do when I'm joining parts like the fuselage halves and that, put enough cement in so when you squeeze it, it bubbles out a bit, and then leave it to dry and you sand off the bubbles, and you have a nice join, because it's all been liquid plastic. Anyway, if you've enjoyed watching, leave a thumbs up. Even better, leave a comment. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Costs you nothing and I'll be happy to have you along. Anyway, and for now all we have to say, tatty pie people.